Hey everybody, welcome to Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. This is episode number 149 of our YouTube channel and podcast, and I cannot be more excited to continue sharing with you guys personal finance topics that I think can be useful for you in your long-term financial journey. Today, we are going to be talking about your family and investing in your family. And, if you're somebody who has kids or, is married and, the things that you can do in those situations in order to, have your family be better off financially and otherwise as they move forward in life. And, if you're not in that place yet, knowing some of these things that you can look forward to doing that can enrich the lives of those around you, especially your immediate family members. And so hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this is something that you can apply to your everyday life, and hopefully it'll reap a lot of benefits, both financially and relationally, that you can be proud of moving forward. Before we get started though, if you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave me any feedback in the comments down below, and I'll respond to anything that you leave down there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, be sure to subscribe and review the podcast on either one of those platforms, and that would be greatly appreciated by me. And then follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and that's really good supplemental materials to all the things I'm putting out in these long form episodes on YouTube and the podcast every single day. And then if you need somebody to help you walk through your financial life and create a financial plan that's specific to you and your family's needs, I can do that. Just go to my website, www.mnowithdylan.com. Click on the Work with Dylan tab, and you can choose the financial coaching session type that would work best for you, and we can begin pushing towards your long-term financial goals together. Now, I know listening to a financial podcast or watching a finance YouTube channel, a lot of what you think about are things that you can implement into your own lives, and actions that you can take, things that you can do, things you should be doing in order to make your life better financially. Well, there are also things that we can be doing that are going to both help us financially, but also help us relationally and behaviorally, that we can do to enrich the lives of those around us, especially our immediate family. We can do things in our lives that is investing in our family, not just literal investing and putting money away, but also doing things that are going to have long-term benefits, that are going to have long-term payoffs. And the focus that I want to have throughout the course of this episode is two things, right? I want to focus on the things that we can do relationally to invest in our family, and then the things we can do financially to invest in our family, and why they are both extremely important, and why they will both reap many benefits moving forward. And some of the financial things will have some spillover into relations, and some of the relational things will have spillover into the financial topics. But you have to know that these types of things, doing these types of things, are going to help you to create a really strong bond with your family, and to hopefully keep the line of success, both financially and otherwise, going within your family tree. And so let's just dive right in. And I want to start with some of the things just relationally that we can do in order to invest in our family. The first thing that we can do is try to establish some traditions, right? Try to establish some things that you do every year, or some things that you do periodically that your family may expect, your spouse can expect, your kids can expect, and that they can really look forward to. And what this is going to do relationally for you and for your family is create that bond around that one particular event. It's going to create something where you really have a strong connection around whatever that one thing is that you do. And whether or not there are any other types of strife within the family or the relationships, you all know that you are going to come together around that one particular tradition. And one tradition that I particularly like, that my wife's family always had, her grandparents had a cabin for a long time, and they would go to that cabin after Thanksgiving every single year and spend the rest of the weekend there as a family. And I think that was something that was really special. It was something that, even if they didn't spend a lot of time together as, cousins or with their aunts and uncles or whatever it may have been, they could all get together at that time and really reconnect and spend a lot of good quality time together. And creating those traditions like that, doing things like that, are things that is going to be invaluable as you move forward in your family life. And obviously, our relationships with our family members are some of the most important relationships we will ever try to build. And so building those relationships around things that we all enjoy doing and that are really, really special and sentimental to all of us, that is something that you can't put a price tag on that. So I would definitely say, if you don't have any legitimate big family traditions, apart from holidays, obviously, because I know those are traditional type things, but doing something that is just something that can get your family away from the day-to-day grind or the day-to-day sludge of whatever they're doing, and you can get them away and just have this tradition that kind of lifts everybody's mood, lifts everybody's spirit, and really brings everybody back together as a cohesive group. Because as you are able to stick together, then you are able to make decisions together and do things together that are keeping you on a straight path as a family group. And so I think traditions are very important. And in a similar way, and this can kind of go towards something you can do financially, because it is spending money in order to do this thing. But I think it is extremely relational and important to mention in this way, and that is go on vacations with your family. At least try to do something once a year, even if you're in a position in your financial life where you can't do something expensive or you can't do something big. Do something that will get everybody out and will get everybody to go do something that is special, that is not expected, something that is a little bit off the wall, right? Something that will get everybody maybe out of their comfort zone. And again, create those bonds together, create memories together, create things that are going to last together. And the reason that I talk about a lot of these things like traditions and going on vacation and things like that is because I understand when it comes to our families, money is something that, yes, it is important, but it is not the most important thing when it comes to building a strong family or raising kids or creating a good relationship with your spouse. It is not the most important thing. The most important things are the things that are relational, are the things that are going to be the things you actually remember and think about 20 years from now. And so doing some of these things is going to help you to get there. But these things are also going to have financial implications. Again, if you're trying to create certain traditions or going on vacation every year, whatever it may be, those things are costly to do or can be costly to do. But they can also be very cheap. It can also be something that is not way too costly for you, and it's something that you'll really enjoy the memories a lot more than the stuff you got while you were wherever you were or the things that you did while you were there. You can do some really special things without spending a lot of money. And this is a way that you should invest in your family, invest in your kids, invest in your relationships with your spouses, and you will not regret those things. And then another way that you can invest in your family relationally is to have conversations with your children. And given that this is a money podcast, yes, you should have conversations with them about money, but you should have hard conversations with them about all different things that life is going to bring along, and try to really instill the values of your family into your children from a very early age. Have very frank, straightforward conversations, obviously age appropriate, but do things that are going to really make them understand where, as a family unit, we stand on things, and we can help to mold and teach children as to which way they should go. And when it comes to financial things that you can talk to your children about, one of the biggest, and it is one of the most baseline in being able to build long-term financial success, is to talk to your children about the order in which things happen in their life. Because I think this is really, really interesting, and it doesn't sound far too difficult, but the statistical significance of these just three things that you can do in order to avoid poverty is absolutely huge, right? The statistical significance is absolutely crazy. And so there have been studies done, and they say there are really only three things that you have to do to avoid poverty. And those three things are the following. You get married before you have a child. Now, that's not to say that everybody should get married or everybody is in a place to, I'm not saying that. But again, if you do these three things, poverty almost goes away as far as some kind of possibility in your financial life. But if you get married before you have a child after the age of 20, and again, this is not saying that you have to have children, but these are just statistical facts. And a lot of people get married and a lot of people have kids, right? But if you get married before you have a child, you have the child after age 20, and then you graduate high school before you do any of these things, right? So you graduate high school before you get married, and you graduate high school before you have a child. And if you're able to do those three things, and those don't seem like crazy things, and it doesn't seem like something that is just really out of the ordinary or just wild to do, right? But if you can do those three things in order, you have a 97% chance of not going into poverty. You have a 97% chance of not living below the poverty line. And that is absolutely huge. And so being able to relay these types of messages to your children, and not at a very young age, but as they get older, as they hit the teenage years and things like that, and understanding that doing things in the right order is extremely important, then you should start having these types of conversations with them. And having these types of conversations is not something that you should be forcing anything onto them. But again, we need to make our values well known, make our views on things well known as a parent to a child. And when you do these types of things, when you have these types of conversations, you can really set your child up for long-term success, not just financially, but otherwise when you talk to them about different big, hot topics that teenagers or children need to talk about, they need to know about in order to go about life in a successful manner, whichever way we are measuring success. And so those are just some things that I think, hey, if you're going to invest in your family, you need to do. You need to create some traditions. You need to go on vacations and do things together. You need to have hard conversations with your children. And then lastly, I think something that is extremely important, is especially important to me as a Bible-believing Christian, is that you need to spend time and pray together, right? And so, and maybe even read the Bible together. And doing those things will really allow you, again, to come together as a family. That is the important part, right? We're trying to build relationships and be able to do things that are going to benefit our family over the long term. And so investing in our family in these relational ways is extremely important. And being able to pray together is not only creating a bond between you and the child, but is also showing that mutual adoration for God, that mutual adoration for Jesus Christ, and being able to say, hey, this is our utmost priority. This is what is number one in priority to us, to our family, and then we will work from there. Those are the things that are most important. Again, the reason that I want to talk about this, I know this is a money show, and so you want to hear things about money. But if you don't get these things right with your family, if you don't get these relational things right, then it is going to be hard to be on the same page about things financially, right? If you don't raise your children in a way that you think they should go, then giving them money to go to college, or giving them money when they graduate college, or saving up money to buy them a car or whatever may be wasted on your part. It may be a wasted exercise because you haven't prepared them for the world. You haven't prepared them to make the right decisions with the things that you're giving them. You haven't given them the right disposition of gratitude and humility and things like that. When somebody else does something for you in order to help you along, then they can really suffer in some of those ways. And then if you aren't, relationally strong with your spouse, then you can really have a lot of issues as far as making decisions about your money. You can really have a lot of issues as far as deciding, what to do, how we're going to combine things, right? We've talked before about why combining finances is so very important. And if you don't combine your finances, then you're not really on the same page relationally, right? You're showing that there's a lack of trust. There's a lack of relational strength there. And that's the last thing we want. We do not want to be in a situation where we're not putting the priority of relational strength and building relationships within our families at the utmost of importance, and we're just focusing on doing things financially well. If you don't put the relationships first, then the financial things that you do may be a moot point, right? You may have some very negative consequences from doing certain financial things in a certain way, and then your relationship's not being strong. You can end up in a really bad place, both financially, and it can make your relationships even weaker. if some of these things occur. So I really want to make sure that we put this premium on the relationships with our family. We invest in our family with our time, and then obviously we want to invest in our family with our money as well. And so let's talk about a few ways that investing in our family with money, right, investing in our family financially can make such a big difference. So one way that you can invest in your family financially is to pay off your debt. And this is absolutely huge for multiple reasons, right? There are a couple ways here that you are actually investing in your family. And again, there is a lot of relational overlap between the financial things and the relational things, because the financial things require you to behave in a certain way, and your behaviors are going to be an overflow of the relationships that you have and of your experiences in your life. And so the first thing, again, is paying off debt. And so if we pay off our debt, right, and let's say we're married, right? If you're married and you work with your spouse to pay off all your debt, you have created a stronger relationship with that spouse. Why? Because in order to pay off debt, what you had to do is you had to live below your means, right? So you had to take on a little bit of self-sacrifice. You had to sacrifice some things, both of you did, that you maybe didn't want to sacrifice, but you had to sacrifice, going out to eat, or sacrifice, buying a bunch of things from Amazon that you don't need, or sacrifice going to Target on the weekends and buying all types of stuff. You had to make a sacrifice in order to get to this particular point where you could get all of your debt paid off. And if you can make sacrifices in order to get to a mutual goal, and you actually reach that goal, then you can have confidence in one another that you can do other things together, that your relationship and the strength that you have and the trust that you have with one another can allow you to do other things, not just financially, but can allow you to do some pretty radical things, good radical obviously, but radical things that can change the course of your life. And you can believe a lot more in one another. And so paying off debt is a really, really big thing that you can do to invest in your family, invest in the strength of your family. And what it does for your kids is, especially if your kids are old enough in order to see this, is that your kids will see that their parents are willing to pay a price in order to do something. And they can see that in order to gain anything, right, in order to reach any type of success, financial or otherwise, then you have to give up something today in order to get some type of reward later. You have to make sacrifices today in order to get rewards later. And that is an invaluable experience for a child, because children need to know that things aren't just given to them, right? You don't just get a good financial situation. You don't just get money. It's not just luck. It's not just happenstance. We've talked about this. Luck plays a part in our financial life, but if we don't work hard, if we don't make the legitimate choices in order to do the things that we are supposed to do financially, then we cannot reach whatever goal we are trying to reach. And that goes not just for our finances, but all other areas of our lives. So if your children can see that, and they can see how you're supposed to live financially, and see how living below your means is extremely important, then those things will resonate with your child, especially if they are old enough to realize what is going on. And this is a place where, again, if you can have those types of conversations with your children about, hey, this is what mommy and daddy are doing, and we're trying to make a better life for all of us. We're trying to create this life financially that will benefit us all. And we're going to do these different things in order to get there. And then they will remember those things that you did to get there, and hopefully be able to implement some of them in their own lives. And so again, more is caught than taught. And so if you're doing things in your life and your children are seeing those things done, then they can absolutely benefit from your good financial decision making. Another way that we can invest in our family financially is that we can put away money for our children's college. And this is something that a lot of people go, well, I had to take out student loans, and I guess my kids will have to take out student loans too, and all of these different types of things, because they don't know what they can do. They don't understand investing well enough to know that they can put money away for their children. They don't know how to put money away for their children. That's why I've made episodes previously about why putting money away for your children is so important. And whether or not it's ever used for college specifically is up to you. It doesn't have to be used for college specifically, and you can pick how you're trying to save and invest for their future. But in doing so, you need to make sure of a few things. The way that this is good in investing in your family is that it can give your child a head start. It can give your child a head start into the real world when they graduate, hopefully from college, or if they go to a trade school when they get out of that trade school, or even if they don't go to college, right? It can still leave them with some type of head start if you have some money saved for them, if you've taught them the correct ways in order to spend, save, and give at all times to have financial balance. If you teach them these types of things, and then you have money for them later on, and you believe that they are responsible enough to use it in the way it's supposed to be used, and then obviously some monies can't be used in other ways apart from education, but other monies can. And so you can put money away for your children. And if they are well educated by you in how to use their money, then you should be confident in that it will give them a good head start. It will allow them to get out of school debt free. It will allow them to go into the real world and understand that debt is a burden on you, and having no debt can allow you to do all different types of things and really get a jump on being able to do things like save for retirement, in order to do things like get out of your parents' house, right? Being debt free can help you to do those types of things, and having that head start in life is absolutely huge for your kids, and it could subsequently be huge for your grandchildren, right? If your kids are able to get a head start, then your grandchildren are likely going to have a head start and are likely going to have parents that are good with their finances and that are financially literate and can do things financially that will benefit their family over the long term. It is a generational thing. If you teach your kids how to do good things with money, if you do good things with money for your children, then they will see the things that you have done and understand what is good or what is bad, right? Because they can learn from bad experiences as well, but they can look at your good financial habits and they can implement them in their own lives and do them for their own family and be able to continuously pass down that knowledge about personal finance, that knowledge about how to invest for the future of their children. And then they can ultimately reap those benefits when the time comes. And so saving money for your kids' college or saving money for your kids' future is just a huge deal. And it's a way you can invest in your family. Obviously, you can do this through 529 plans or ESAs if you're really focused on saving for their education, because we know that college is so very costly. But you could also put money away into an UTMA or UGMA account. And the UTMA is the Uniform Transfer to Minors Act. And this is just saying, hey, I'm going to be a custodian for this money for my child. And when they're 18 years old, the money is theirs. And so then they can choose to use it as they wish. And if you teach your kids good financial habits, this can be a good way to go. Or you can also just put money away in brokerage accounts for your kids so you can make the decisions on doing whatever you want to do with that money to help them along later on. And so this is a huge thing you can do. You can put money away for your kids. And the earlier you start, the better off they will be, and the more that they can see that you've really made a long-term concerted effort in order to make their lives better. And it can be a great way to invest in your family over the long term. Then obviously saving for retirement is a huge thing for your family, not just for you, because obviously you need the money in order to live on later on, and your spouse needs the money in order to live on with you later on, but it is going to be a good way to invest in your children as well. Now, why is this the case? Well, if you have a lot of money saved for retirement, enough to take care of you over the long term, then your children don't have to take care of you, right? Your children don't have to spend their money taking care of their parents. They can instead use their money to push on to the next generation, and money can continue to grow and compound for your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, and money can flow downward down the family tree and not back upward. Anytime money is flowing upward, the idea of generational wealth building is not going to flourish very well. And so you want to make sure that you save for retirement, you do all the right things that you are supposed to do, and in doing so, it will make your life better, and it will make the lives of your children better when you are finally retired, when you are old enough, you don't work anymore. Your children don't have to take care of you. You can take care of yourself, and you can do all of the things that you need to do financially without having to look for some type of handout and without hindering the financial success of those who come after you. And then another way that we can invest in our family in a monetary way, in a financial way, is to pay off our home, right? If we can pay off our home, then that can allow us to cash flow a lot of things for our family. It can allow us to go on some fun vacations, like we said earlier, build those relationships, right, with our family members, and be able to go on those big, vacations and create those big fun traditions with our family. If we have a lot of extra cash flow, then we can do that, and we can also save more for retirement. We can also put more away for our children as far as their education, or just money to give to them in the future. Or we can do all sorts of things if we have more cash flow, and paying off your home will create more cash flow that is left in your bank account every single month than just about anything else you can do financially. And so that should be something that you really keep in mind as you move forward. If you can pay off the house, then your largest monthly expense for most people is then gone. And so you have more cash flow. You can do all of these new things with your money and be able to really create a strong financial foundation for your family over the long term. And then this kind of brings me into the last thing financially that you can do to invest in your family, and that is to give generously, right? If you have more cash flow, you can give generously, but you should be giving generously all through the financial action plan. You should be giving from the first part all the way to the ninth part. Obviously, the ninth part, we're giving in far greater proportions of our income than we were at the very beginning, but we need to be giving all the way through. And why is this important for investing in our family? Obviously, to give is not going to just create something in us that says, let me just expect that I'm going to get something in return. That's not what we're looking for. What giving is going to do is it is going to show those around you that you are not somebody who is super self-centered with your finances. It's going to teach your children that being self-centered with your finances is not the best way to go. It's going to show your kids that we are at our best when we are giving, right? And we are called to give biblically. And so God knows we are at our best when we give, and you can show that. You can model that for your children if you are being extremely generous. And it can also keep you and your spouse aligned in how your values are going to play into your financial situation. Because if you are a Bible-believing Christian and you're not actively giving, then there's going to be a bit of a disconnect between what you say you are and what your actions are showing, right? I'm not saying that if you don't give, you're not a Christian. I'm just saying if you aren't giving, then maybe you're missing the point a little bit. Maybe you like the title more than you like the actions, especially actions that are going to take money out of your pocket systematically. But I think that giving is extremely important, and it can really create some ideologies in the ones that come after you, in your children, in your grandchildren, that my money is not my own. I am just a manager of this money. I can live below my means, right? I don't have to live on every single dollar that I make. I can do things for other people. I can be outward looking and not just inward looking at all times. I can be able to do things for others and be humble and be grateful for what I have. And I can give and be able to help others and do things for other people that if you don't have money and you don't give, then you're not going to be able to make those types of differences in the lives of others. And making those types of differences will change your heart. It will change what is inside you. And it will also create these habits inside of you to where, hey, this is what we do. As a family, this is what we do. We are generous people. We like to give. We like to help others. And showing that to your children is absolutely invaluable. And it allows your family to grow in a way that is spiritual in nature, but it is also going to help your long-term financial journey. It's also going to help your family to make good financial decisions over the long term because you're managing money in the way that God has called you to do so. And that is completely invaluable. So I hope these things help. I hope that you can take some of these things and invest in your family better. I hope you can do so relationally. I hope you can do so financially and really be able to create those strong bonds with your family and to have the values that you and your spouse have moved down the family tree systematically. And so hopefully this really helped. Maybe if you're not even in this place yet, you can take some of these things and have them as just notes as to what you want to do when you're married, when you have children, things like that. And that can really help you along and really help your children and your children's children to be both relationally strong and financially strong with one another. And that's what we really want, right? We want those relationships to be strong and the financial situation to be strong. Obviously, because again, this is a money show. You want to know how to create generational wealth. You want to know how to create financial strength within your family. Doing some of these things will get you there in much better ways than just about anything you could choose to do. But focus on the relationships first and then the finances, and you will be just fine. So thanks for watching this video. If you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave me any feedback in the comments down below if you haven't done so already, and I'll be sure to respond to anything you leave down there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, then be sure to subscribe and leave me a review on either one of those platforms. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and that's really good supplemental materials to all the things I'm putting out in these long form episodes on YouTube and the podcast every single day. And then if you need somebody to help you walk through your financial life and do all the things that you need to do to be financially successful over the long term, then I can help you do that. Just go to my website, www.mnowithdylan.com. Click on the Work with Dylan tab, and you can choose the financial coaching session type that would work best for you, and we can begin pushing towards your long-term financial goals together. So tune in tomorrow as I talk about financially enabling others and why this is something we need to be on our guard about, and we need to make sure our generosity doesn't turn into this habit of enabling others. So thanks for tuning into this episode of Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. God bless.